What kind of person was Lou Alcindor back in those days?
He was sort of a withdrawn person, especially if he didn't know you. But the icebreaker for he and I was that most New Yorkers who didn't play big time college ball, most of them came to the South to play. So he and I knew the same. He knew a lot of guys that played it at historically Black schools.
Okay.
And that was the icebreaker with he and I. And then I think going through rookie camp and he saw that I could play. And, game identifies, recognizes game.
Yes, we do.
And so he saw that, hey, this kid here can play. And pretty soon they stopped joking me about being from Norfolk State because I was playing well. But Kareem and I, we didn't hang out together, but we just had a mutual respect for each other as teammates.
So let me ask you, so now the Big O comes to town. What's it like when he comes in? What do you pick up from Oscar Robertson?
Just sheer excitement about playing with the Big O, a class guy who expected perfection all the time. Some of his best performances were probably in practices. He just led us, directed us. I mean, how can a young team not be excited about the Big O?
For sure. So when people look now, people are my age, I'm 61. When you see Russell Westbrook and playing at that, when you start talking about averaging a triple-double, a few years ago, that was unheard of.
Yeah.
Unheard of. And then people start to say, hey, there was this guy named Oscar Robertson who was doing stuff like that when NBA wasn't on TV all the time. You just heard the legend of people like that. So let's talk about winning the championship. What was that like for the guy from Norfolk State and Richmond?
Well, I was used to winning at Norfolk State. I mean, so winning for me was nothing new. And really, it took me about 4 or 5 years to realize the significance of winning an NBA championship because I said, okay, well, I've won the CIAA. I'm used to being in the CIAA finals. 3 years later, when I realized that even some of the great superstars, Elgin Baylor, Wilt Chamberlain, Jerry West, none of them at the time had won a championship. And so it was pretty well acknowledged that you may play in this league and be a great individual player, but that doesn't necessarily mean you're going to win a championship because in the early years, Boston or the 76ers dominated everything.
Let me ask you a question with that right there. When you play a team sport and you don't win, how does that bother a person or, I guess, taint your legacy? Because you hear the whole Shaq and Barkley argument, or you were great at what you did, but you were on a team that maybe you never had the right team around you. How does that affect you?
Well, just from a joking stand.
Oh, you're getting killed. You're getting killed straight up.
You're getting killed straight up, and the worst killing comes from your homeboys.
Of course, because they know it bothers you.
But you know always in the back of your mind when the great ones get together, maybe it's a retired players association. No matter how great you are, guys begin to talk after their playing careers are over about how many championships did you win? And they will throw that out on the floor just to be critical of somebody that has had great individual statistics. But the ultimate in a career is winning that championship. And I know guys who have had great individual careers, but not winning that championship still haunts them.
That's true. So being from Philly, it's not like we win a bunch of championships. And there are people in Philly that we love. Barkley never really got the love in Philadelphia that a lot of people thought that he was good, but then when he left, it was okay. There's three people. I'm in Richmond, Virginia now. On the mic with Mike. We're here. We're talking to Bobby Dandridge here, Hall of Famer, here talking about sports, life, and everything in between. I talk about Richmond. I talk about Virginia. There's three guys who come to mind when you talk about Philadelphia: Iverson, Moses. When you talk about those two guys right there, that just says something about Philadelphia. There's a love that people in Philly have, and Michael Vick. We, as Philadelphia sports fans, because they gave it all. We can't judge people by championships because we never win enough of them. We judge you by hard work and being one of our guys, one of the hard workers. You came and brought it every day that you were there. And then if you didn't win, hey, you know what? You're one of our guys. So forever and ever, those three will be Philadelphia icons. Moses came and delivered. That's for sure. Michael Vick, he delivered. He delivered something. When we beat Washington, that was enough right there. We didn't care what he did. The humiliation that he put on Washington made life worthwhile. And Iverson, what can we say about him in our town, which is something he just set the whole town on fire. Really quick, let me ask you about the idea of championship teams being put together.
And your adopted son in Philly is a guy named Hal Greer.
Hal Greer, yes, for sure. The original number 3.
Hal Greer's wife is from Richmond.
Oh, really?
Yes, Mamie Cannon, and her mother, Mrs. Cannon, her mother and father taught in the Richmond public school system. So Hal Greer, and I'll tell you a quick story. I was sort of mischievous in high school. and Mrs. Cannon told me at the beginning of the school, said, Bob, if you just give us a break for 2 or 3 days in class, I got a surprise for you. Well, on the 3rd day, who comes into the class at the end of school but Hal Greer?
Philadelphia legend.
And nobody else in the school knew who he. I had the opportunity on me because most days at the end of the practice, he would want to get up 100 shots. On 3 days, he never missed any more than 3 jump shots out of 100. And that profoundly affected me because that let me know what I had to do to make it into the NBA. So Hal Greer is an adopted Richmonder.
I tell you what, that's Philadelphia royalty for basketball.
He
was a classy, the classy player with that one. All right, let's talk about the call from the Hall. What's that like? That Bobby Dandridge going to the Hall of Fame.
Well, I knew the vote was coming up soon, and one day I missed the call and I looked at it and it may have been 217 or 417. And I said, I don't know who this is. So I went and looked it up and come to find out it was Springfield, Mass.
Uh-oh, you know what they're talking then.
And I'm saying,
it can't be.
This thing. And so, of course, I kept the phone with me for the next couple of hours, and sooner or later, the call came, and I was speechless because along with the call came instructions that this has not been announced to the press, and you must not tell anybody.
And you ready to explode?
So I'm in the barbershop one day, and the fellas in there talking trash, and I got to keep my mouth closed.
It was hard. You got something. You got the ultimate jacket. The jacket saying, "I'm gonna be in there with the greats," and here you got to take it in the barbershop, which is hard.
Yeah, I got to take it in the barbershop, and so the first, so I just had to tell my wife, because my wife is hard on anybody that's in the Hall of Fame, and I'm not in the Hall of Fame.
She said, my Bobby should be in the Hall of Fame. All of a sudden you said, hey, baby, check this out.
Right.
I got this call.
So we watching the game one night, and she hard on somebody. So I said, look, let me tell you something. And when I told her, she, tears just started coming down her eyes. My 45, my daughter Shayna, who lives in Richmond, she was excited, but I couldn't tell her because she's a Facebook junkie.
Oh, so, and the word would have hit the street immediately. Look what my daddy did. My daddy in the Hall of Fame. and the word is out.
Yeah, the word. Now they ready to put me out of the hall before I got there.
Ladies and gentlemen, we were going to have Bobby Dandridge here, but he couldn't keep a secret.
But it was just humbling, and it sort of makes you reflect back on the village of people that have made this possible, and some of them didn't have nothing to do with basketball, and I tell people that it's going to be at least 100 people up on that stage with their hands on the ring, and 100 people wearing the jacket, because I just bring with me to the celebration so many people who have played an intricate part in my life. And that becomes humbling, when I think back to the Hal Greer story, just how many times would a 16 or 15-year-old get a chance to work out with a guy like Hal Greer? To play against pros in Washington, D.C., and to have the type of parent that
they were hard, but they put you on the right path. Let me ask you, when you see young people today, what's a bit of advice when you see the young folks going, chasing dreams? You had a dream and the dream came true.
Be coachable. Be coachable, because